So most of my research works towards understanding why second language speakers find it so difficult to learn lexical restrictions in their second language. If you look at the top of the slide behind me, you'll see a quote from the novel Everything is Illuminated. And here we have a character called Alexei, who after a few pages says, "In Russian, my ideas are asserted abnormally well, but my second tongue is not so premium." So what you know straight away is that Alexei is not a native speaker of English. It doesn't matter that what he says is grammatical, that it makes sense. You know just by virtue of the words he's chosen and the way he's put them together, Alexei has a lexical accent, as it were. And the reason he has a lexical accent is that he doesn't share the native speaker's knowledge of which word combinations are conventional, even though others are possible. So to understand what this really means, you just have to think about a few examples. In English, we could say, bath water has gone cold. A firm could go bankrupt. I could go crazy. But you wouldn't hear a native speaker say they'd gone healthy, for example. Or you could think about adjective-noun phrases. So if you thought about slim chance and narrow escape, a native speaker would know that slim and narrow might be synonyms, but you couldn't swap them around in those two phrases. So you couldn't say slim escape and narrow chance. It just wouldn't work. So most of my research has investigated whether, given enough time, enough exposure, and enough opportunity, second language speakers eventually acquire this kind of knowledge. And what we find is that even after 30, 40, 50 years of exposure, it's still very difficult for people to discriminate between these odd or atypical combinations and the conventional ones that native speakers use. Now, the reason I brought up Alexei is actually to highlight 2 points. The first is that second language speech can be incredibly funny, but it can also sound profound or even poetic sometimes. And the reason for that is that second language speakers are doing something inadvertently that native speakers do all the time. They are confounding expectations. And these expectations arise because of the lexical restrictions between words. So we know what's coming next, and native speakers exploit this all the time. By breaking the patterns, they create humor, they create pathos, they create effect. And second language speakers do this too, but it's just that they're doing it inadvertently. So my current research is using this observation and is measuring the electrophysiological brain responses of native speakers to see how they process these effects in real time. And the idea that I'm testing is that it's the same mechanism that registers the effects of humor or poetry that allows us to learn what's conventional in the first place. So the idea is, hopefully, by getting a baseline of what native speakers do, we can then compare second language speakers and see how and where they're doing